lifelong best friends. Take turns picking topics, then they see where it ends. So wild, it's weird, and sometimes specific. Whatever it is, you know it will be terrific. It's Hyperfixation Time.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hyperfixation Time. I'm Danny.
And I'm Erin.
And this week, we're going to be talking about a random topic. It could be anything. It's Erin's turn to pick the topic because we take turns and inform the other person on whatever it may be. It is a total surprise to me, so I cannot wait to hear what it is. And before we get into that, we're going to get into our microfixations of the week. So whatever we're interested in currently, and maybe do a little catch up.
Do you have a microfixation of the week?
I kind of wanted to hear yours first,
Okay.
if that's okay.
Well, I think you may be able to guess mine. I'm going to say my microfixation has been Mae Martin.
Okay, that's why I wanted you to go first.
Okay.
Because I was going to say that was mine as well.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I didn't want to I didn't want to do it first, so.
Yeah, so Danny and I, well, this is a while ago. I bought tickets. Mae Martin was coming to Madison. They're a really funny comedian. You've probably seen them in their show Feel Good. They have a lot of stand-up specials. They've got their show Wayward, which was, I think, the end of last year, got really popular. And I have a major crush on Mae. And I just really love their comedy, too. We both listen to the Handsome podcast as well, which has Mae, Tig, Notaro, and Fortune Feimster in it. And I don't know, I've been listening for a bit. I got Danny on it. I just love all three of them. They all bring something different to the table, I feel like. And anyway, Mae came to Madison, and I had to get tickets. And it turned out they were also doing a meet and greet. So I spent a little bit more money, which actually was not crazy amount of money for. We were in the third row and then getting to meet them afterwards and getting like a poster of them as well. So yeah, Danny and I went and the show was great. They did their sort of set, but it was a bit more like easygoing, go with the flow kind of thing. And then they did some improv with their friend. That was so funny. I thought that they did a good job of that. I just am always impressed with improv when people can do that. And then they sang some songs, which were really great, and I swooned a little bit. And yes, my husband is aware of this crush of mine. But anyway, meeting them was great. I feel like I was still awkward, but they signed our posters and were very nice. Gave us a hug, took pictures. Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, Erin pretty much said it. You were originally going to take our other friend. And she couldn't go last second. So I'm sorry to her that she was unable to make it, but I appreciate you bringing me along because it was a really good time. And yeah, I was going to say that they definitely were my microfixation because even though I listened to the pod and watched Wayward and, I would consider myself a fan of theirs, thanks to you letting me know about them. But I was like, okay, well, I really gotta, get all the material in that I can before we go see them.
Yep.
So I just listened to seriously, probably 15 episodes of Handsome and watched their special on Netflix, and it was so funny.
Sap, right? You watched Sap.
Yeah. That was so funny. Definitely recommend it. And yeah, so now I just feel like I hung out with Mae for the last week or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yes. And I highly recommend their show Feel Good too. I restarted that before going to the show the other day, but I restarted it and it's just, I don't know, it's so good. It's just very wholesome, just like I feel like they are, but also, I don't know, just an interesting story. So highly recommend Feel Good as well.
I don't think you were awkward during the meet and greet. I think I felt a little awkward, but I don't know. That's just how we are. We're going to ruminate on the little experience, and that's kind of how Mae is too, which is funny.
Exactly. It just seems like we're very similar. I feel like all three of us in some ways in that sense. But I will say that we did not mention that we have a podcast.
I know.
To Mae. Which
I feel like we could have.
I think we could have.
Because there was a point in the conversation where it would have made sense for it. It's not like it would have been really unnatural. But me and Erin were both just silent at that moment.
We looked at each other do we say it? Do we not?
We went with not.
Yeah.
It was a really cool experience.
Yeah, really cool. Oh, I can't believe we've met them.
I know. I was telling Erin the next morning that I had a dream that the three of us were hanging out for like an entire weekend together.
My dream. Oh my God. I'm glad that you had a good time too.
Mhm,
And
mhm,
they had their arms around us, and
mhm.
I still haven't washed that shirt yet.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Are you ready?
I sure am. Did you
Okay.
want to give me a clue or anything?
Well, I'm going to start with just a little bit of like a warning. Some people
Mm,
may not like the subject of this. I guess just may not like the subject overall. There's some
hmm.
like relations to death involved in it and things like that. So it might not be for everyone, and that's okay. I just wanted to put that out there. Listen with care if this is something that might be not up your alley or trigger something or anything like that.
Okay.
Um, but it involves animals and death.
Okay. Okay.
Any
That's
guesses?
really interesting because my episode that I'm going to do next week has to do with animals and death.
What?
So I
Is
don't
it
want
going to
to,
be the
I
same?
actually, I don't want to guess it because what if yeah, okay, just tell
Okay.
me because I don't want to guess it.
Okay. So there's a couple names for it, but basically cadaver dogs,
Okay.
decomposition dogs, human remain detection dogs. Those are all names for this.
Interesting. Okay. No, that's not my topic, but
Interesting.
it is
Okay.
interesting.
Huh.
Okay.
Yeah. I've always been interested, well, not always, but for a long time I've been interested in this just because it seems like, dogs are put to work for other things, right?
Mhm.
Farm dogs, just livestock guardian dogs, herding dogs. There's tons of work that we put them, and they love, and they're like, their genetics are made for a lot of the time.
Mhm.
And so cadaver dogs is something I've looked into as potentially a career path at some point because, well, it's mostly volunteer, so it's not really like, you know, anything that you really get paid for. But
Okay.
I find it actually just number one, bringing potential closure to families or any sort of information to families maybe going through something or missing people that maybe they didn't really have a family, but then we are able to like figure it out or things like that. It's just I think that there's a lot of positivity around it, even
Mhm.
though it's like the dark side of things too. Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
We're already starting with the does that make
I just feel like,
sense?
yeah, I don't know.
No, yes, it does make sense. I think that closure is really important to people that are experiencing something like that. I can't really like relate to that feeling, but just from what I've seen,
Yeah.
online from people, it's like having that closure of what happened is very important. I was just going to say that I don't know that much, about cadaver dogs really. And
Yeah.
one of the things that was on my list for possible topics just is like working dogs in general. I
Yeah.
didn't necessarily know which route I was going to go with that, but
Mm-hmm.
so I'm excited and interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to start with sort of, and I'm probably going to refer to them as cadaver dogs for the most part. Like I said, they also are called decomposition dogs or human remains detection dogs. So kind of all three of those interchangeable. But cadaver dogs are trained to find deceased or decomposing human remains. They can detect everything from just a few drops of blood to a fully decomposed or decomposing body. So,
Mhm.
a little bit like that. So, like other dogs with jobs, cadaver dogs are specially trained and serve an important role in society, really. Maybe it's not the most glamorous of jobs, but they are crucial in resolving cases of missing or deceased people, often serving as like a, sort of the link between that closure and justice for grieving families, or, just finding just answers maybe just getting some answers in whatever way that is. Now they're not search and rescue dogs, so you might think of search and rescue dogs, they're looking for humans that are alive, so avalanches, or I know that they had some during 9/11, and to find people alive in massive catastrophes. Essentially, these dogs are specifically searching for some sort of human remains, and they're trained specifically for that. So yeah.
I guess my question that I have that I feel like maybe I'll get to at some point is just like when they would decide to bring in the cadaver dog versus the search and rescue. And
Mm-hmm.
like I'm assuming that the main difference between like what those dogs are trained to look for would be like well, because you said that the cadaver dog can smell like blood
Yes, and
and
specifically decomposing
And decomposing. Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
I guess that
basically, yeah, the search and rescue are solely looking for alive, like people that are alive.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it comes down to just like there's different scents, you know, whether it's blood and decomposing versus like blood and alive still.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it, I think, as far as what I could understand. But yeah, basically focus is search and rescue is to find alive
Yeah.
people. And then cadaver is mainly they're going to focus on, and they are trained to pick up the sense of decomposing bodies, blood, remains, just anything around that. So maybe you use both depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
They just each specialize. You don't see one that does both of those really.
Mm-hmm.
So, but there is a lot of science to it. So,
Cool.
humans, we have about 5 to 6 million scent receptors, and dogs have about 220 to 300 million scent receptors.
Oh.
So quite a bit more than us. Their brains are just wired differently. So the part that's dedicated to smell in their brain is dramatically larger, meaning that scent isn't just something that they notice. It's something that they can almost like break down and analyze. It's the olfactory bulb, which is the primary part of the dog's brain that is the larger.
It reminds me of in the previous episode when we were talking about candles and stuff around our dogs.
Yeah, exactly.
How do they really feel about those? I don't know.
Wonder. I know. I can't stop thinking about that ever since we talked about that. when I light a candle, I'm like, are you guys okay? Sorry. But basically, it's that area of the brain, that olfactory bulb, is roughly 40 times larger relative to total brain size in dogs than it is in humans. So they can detect, process, and track odors, including human remains. And this enables them to sort of filter background scents and isolate specific decomposition compounds within scents. So it's very fascinating, I think, at least the science of it all. And like, you know, when we smell something, it's like, oh, okay, I just blew out a candle. You just smell like fresh cut grass in the springtime or something like that. For dogs, it's more of like a full story, not just the smell. Like they can separate the layers. They can sort of even like track time, distinguish between substances as well. So a dog that after cutting grass might not just smell that, but also like, you know, the rain that came the day before or something, like just every part of it, the mulch that got moved around, the worm maybe that got caught in the lawnmower or something like that, or like the little plants and stuff. But they can just distinguish between those differences, whereas we're just like, oh, grass, you know.
Yeah, and that's why they like to smell on the walk, because they get the little story of who was all here. It's like I've seen, you know, people comparing it to like watching the news or like going on a roller coaster ride. Even it's just like so sensory.
Yes, that's why exactly
for such a simple thing.
Exactly. That's why when you do take your dogs on walks, letting them sniff is almost the equivalent of the actual exercise, like of walking itself, because they are working out their brains with analyzing these scents. So sometimes I know even myself, like I get frustrated with my dogs, like, okay, come on, let's go. But it's actually like so good for them to let them sit there and sniff and use their brains in that way. And so maybe think about that next time, you know, just stop for a minute or two, let them do their thing.
Stop and smell the roses.
Stop and smell the roses, exactly.
Or the pee, you know.
Yeah, you know. It's funny, we have this joke in my house because I have 2 dogs. One of them is like too smart for their own good, and one of them is, she's not dumb, because she definitely is smart, but she's not as like, I don't know, we just joke that she's like not as smart as our other dog. Okay, so that's Rue. And then Ellie is the one that's a bit like she picks up on tricks quick. She always has. Like, she's 12 years old and we could teach her something right now. So our joke is that when we take Ellie for a walk and she smells pee, she's like, male, neutered. It's grain-free food with a bit of extra vegetables in it. Seems like maybe an egg or 2, you know, probably was here about 2 to 3 hours ago. And, you know, that's how Ellie is in her brain. And then we take Rue to the same spot and she sniffs it and she goes, dog.
That's cute.
So there are studies that show that trained cadaver dogs can detect extremely small traces of human remains, even when mixed with other smells too. So this allows them to sniff out everything, like with general sense with dogs and things like that. That's why they're used for bombs and drugs, and then the cadaver side of things, or the search and rescue, and also even certain diseases. People will have therapy dogs that can tell when somebody's blood sugar is too low or when a seizure is coming on. They just have such a high level advanced smell system that we use them for a lot of different things. They can even smell emotions, apparently. I thought that was interesting. Which is why, like, I think, if I'm sad, I do notice my dogs, like, coming up
definitely.
to me, like, wherever they're from, or something, or if I'm scared or whatever that might be. I don't know. They can smell that. They can smell the fear.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like what is it that they're smelling? Is it because we're like maybe you start sweating a bit differently or like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm trying to
I
think
don't
of
know.
what it would be that they're smelling.
I don't know. Yeah, probably a mix of that and any sort of like chemical response, I don't know. It's weird. Not sure. The cadaver dogs are trained to detect something called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs. They are microscopic chemicals that are released specifically during human decomposition. So we're talking about like hundreds and even thousands of different compounds that form kind of this invisible scent cloud specific to human decomposition. It's not one smell. I saw online it was compared to as if it's like a chemical orchestra, but dogs can hear at one time. They can hear every single instrument separate from each other, like kind of isolated down to that point. I don't know. Kind of help me. Like, I'm a visual person, so I just try to like picture that stuff.
Makes sense completely.
So when a body decomposes, it releases specific compounds like sulfur-containing chemicals, acids and alcohols, compounds like dimethyl trisulfide, which show up frequently in decomposition profiles as well. These change over time too, based on stages of decomposition. So fresh remains smell different than skeletal remains. And yes, even bones have a scent signature that evolves even through over years, like if it's been out there for many years. But they're learning. They know them, they get trained to learn and pick up the differences in those smells and that kind of thing. So, and then again, a lot of times learning that timeline too of just knowing like the difference between fresh and sort of the old. Even like I've seen some that it's been like decades and decades of bodies being out there and they still find it, or like the bottom of a pond or a lake. You'd think that all the other smells around that would kind of muddle things up or something like that, but they're still able to just they can figure it out. I don't know, they can still smell it. It's interesting. So that's more
interesting.
of the science. I know. Okay, so getting into a little bit of like the history of all of this. So the use of dogs to find human remains is really nothing new. According to a paper in the Journal of Archaeological Method and Theory, dogs have been helping to track down dead bodies since around 700 BC and over the many centuries since then.
Yeah, that's way earlier than I
Right.
would have thought.
Yeah, I know. And whether it was like people around training them, I'm not sure, but they've been able to, have that skill set, I guess, even back then. So there's a whole lot to be impressed about when it comes to cadaver dogs. Just in case you're not already in awe of these extraordinary canines, here are some additional facts about cadaver dogs that are worth knowing. Cadaver dogs are able to tell the difference between human remains and animal remains even. So that's a question I had, is like, how do they pick up between like a rabbit decomposing?
Right.
Like, is it the same? Is it different? But it's different, and they know right away if the scent they're picking up is from a person or if it's from decomposing animal or wildlife. They're trained to pick up scents both on the ground and in the air, so they can identify crime scenes even if the body has since been moved. So that's another pro for them. Depending on the circumstances, they may also be able to lead search teams to where the body was relocated to. Cadaver dogs work tirelessly both in training and in the field. Altogether, they can identify hundreds of different scents related to decomposition versus the handful of scents that even like drug and bomb sniffing dogs might be trained to sniff out. And then during training, cadaver dogs learn to differentiate between types of decomposing flesh, including recently dead, long dead, drowned. There's a specific smell that they train them on for drowned victims, and like we talked about, like skeletal, remains and things like that. So there's a lot of different stages that they're able to help out with.
I wonder, can dogs smell when they're in the water?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think.
I'm sure
Like,
they could, like if they're swimming.
yeah, I guess they don't really like go under the water too much.
Yeah.
I was like picturing because you said the drowned victims, but like
Yeah.
obviously a lot of people would wash up on shore or whatever, and
Yeah.
like that's what I'm assuming they're going for when they're smelling that victim, you know what I mean? But I was
Well,
just like, are they going underwater? Can you I don't
I
know.
so I think more so based on a story I was reading. Let's say there's a pond and the dog like signals to their trainer that there's something in there. They don't have to be swimming or in the water to find the smell. It comes out enough for them
I see. So they just kind of like point.
yes, and they
There's something
point,
in
and then that's when like this, dive teams and whatever come
Mhm.
out to search. It's not so much like they're in the water necessarily, is my understanding at least. So yeah, good question though. I was like, how do you smell underwater?
Well, yeah, that's what I was like. Their smell is so good they can smell when they're in the water.
yeah, exactly. I don't know. So like I mentioned, there's a lot of training that goes into this. So there's a few chemicals that they specifically use to train dogs with from an early age, like as soon as possible, really, like as puppies. Cadaverine is one of the chemicals, and putrescine is another chemical which is produced by decomposing corpses. And you can get these scents to work with your dog on picking these things up, like from, I don't even know where from, but I'm sure somewhere like some sort of maybe Amazon, I don't know. No, just kidding. But basically, to train them, these professionals will use either these formulated chemicals or even better if they have genuine human remains. For example, many trainers will use placentas and
Oh,
blood since they're
okay.
easier to source. And so is like hair, sometimes teeth, and some instances bones. So it's better to almost have some sort of actual example, of course, but there are ways around that too, and of course do it all ethically, and there are ways to do this. That is I was just listening to a podcast today about grave robbers and why, because the doctors performing autopsies was frowned upon for the dead, but then they needed to learn, so they would pay people to go rob graves and bring them dead bodies. Anyway,
Did you know? Okay, similar
yeah.
random fact. I remember listening to a podcast years ago. You just brought this up in my memory. Do you remember that exhibit that was like at the museum? I think it was called Bodies, and it was real, like
Yeah.
people that had passed. Is that a cadaver or like? Would that
Yeah.
be considered? Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, like real cadavers, and they would show, like, like this is what this type of person looks like. This is what and like, different positions of the bodies and everything.
Yeah.
Apparently, most of those were not sourced ethically.
Oh.
Yeah, and
Lovely.
I went to that exhibit. I remember in high school.
Yeah.
I think it was like a mystery where they came from or something like that. You're gonna have to do some digging. Anybody listening, if you're interested in that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I remember listening to that and being like,
That's
whoa.
interesting. Yeah, because I know now, like back then, it was like more so about religious reasons. Like we don't want to disturb the body,
Mm,
and affect anything for heaven or whatever it might be.
mhm.
Versus now, like you can agree and sign off
Right,
to donate your body to science for research purposes,
right.
and don't have to rob. I'm sure there's still a lot of crazy stuff going on, but yeah, robbing graves was the way that they would do it back then as well. Was that
And
in
like
Chicago or Milwaukee?
that was in Milwaukee.
It was
Yeah.
Milwaukee. Okay.
And then I was gonna say that at the Children's Museum here in Madison, my son has touched a human brain 3 separate occasions. So
What?
yeah. And then yeah, I'm just sitting there looking at like, who is this?
Yeah,
And
you
then I think it was
wonder.
finally the last time that happened. Leon finally was like, how did they get this? I was like, well, yeah, somebody donated their body to science, and
Mm-hmm.
it was like you could just see on his face he was working it out too finally.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, how do you explain that? I don't know.
they belong to someone.
Didn't they save Einstein's brain for study or
Maybe it was
something like that?
Einstein. I don't know.
Madison, Wisconsin had Einstein's.
Yeah,
Could be.
some cool stuff happening here.
That's true. That is true. Okay, so anyway, it's really important when you're training a dog to get them as much diversity and variety as possible. Obviously, the human parts are generally more challenging to obtain than synthetic alternatives, but it's It's a whole community too. So there's a lot of resources that people will share with each other. Like, I don't know if
You
there's
need a bone? Here's a bone.
Yeah, exactly. I got this. I got this one. Who needs a femur? You need a femur over there. But whatever they use, the trainers imprint these scents on their dogs throughout time and consistent exposure. They learn the smells at various stages to broaden their awareness of how cadaver scent can change over time and in different situations. Like we talked about, training begins with associating the scent of human tissue and then a reward. So it's positive reinforcement. Right? Yeah, that would be positive.
Yeah.
Yeah. If they find remains, they get a treat. So a lot of times before they're even like put out to work for like actual cases and stuff, they're doing a lot of at-home stuff like in the yard or at parks or things like that, where the trainer will hide whatever if it's a compound or if it, like chemical, or if it's whatever they have acquired, hide that around and just really work with them on that stuff and then give them a treat when they find it.
I was like thinking about this already because I don't know, like I know enough about dog training that I know that that's how that works. And I understood like that's going to be this process.
Yep.
But so I was thinking about the fact that whenever the cadaver dog finds human remains, they're probably so freaking excited. And it's like it's like dark humor kind of, because it's like funny. You find this dead body and the dog is just like losing its mind, excited.
Just pumped. Yeah. Yep. Well, yeah,
and I'm sure the people are probably like, it's kind of like what you're talking about in the beginning. Like it's happy that you're getting this closure, but it's still very sad at the same time. But
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I should say too, it's not always like treats. It may be like if you have a dog that really loves a specific toy, like an associated toy, like, okay, now you get your duck or whatever it is, or if it's like a tennis ball or something, and then they'll go and they'll play with them, once they discover it. But it just depends on the dog, what is like their high value reward, really. And yeah, it just kind of reinforces that over and over again as they get better at it. And then really over time, once the trainer feels ready, I don't know if there's like a certification or something like that for this. I actually should have looked that up, but because this is a volunteer situation, I'm not 100% sure. It's not like they're employed by police departments or anything like that, So
okay,
I don't know. So to the dog, it's not sad or scary. It's a game of find the thing equals best day ever. Like you said, it's kind of morbid. It's pretty morbid, but yeah. So it's making sure different environments you're training them in, like buildings, soil, water, sand, like just, you got to give them as much exposure to variety as possible. Tiny trace detection, like I said, they can even detect small drops of blood. So eventually working in some of that too. And some programs require hundreds to over 1,000 hours of training before a dog is field ready.
Okay. It's a long time.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to compare that to is my time in Animal Crossing, and it's like, if I think about all the time I spent, then my dog might be ready.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know. It's a commitment. That's a commitment too. Yeah. So I also had read some stories of like some rescue dogs being trained to be cadaver dogs. Because a lot of times, like you think of, I don't know, you might think
of like a German Shepherd. That's what I would picture right away.
Yep. Bloodhounds. I feel like that's one where they have like a, I don't know, track record for sniffing anything out. But there are types of dogs that are generally good at being detection dogs. So this is not specific to just cadaver, but any sort of scent detection dogs. And in no particular order, German Shepherd, German Shorthair Pointer, Belgian Shepherd, which includes like the Belgian Malinois, which is very similar to a German Shepherd, Golden Retrievers, English Springer Spaniels, Labrador Retrievers, Beagles, Border Collies, Cocker Spaniels, and even Dachshunds. I found that interesting.
That would be so funny.
Well, because they can dig more, or like they can like get into small places more.
Okay, they're low to the ground.
They're low to the ground. Yeah.
It's just funny. All those other dogs were like fairly similar, and then Dachshund.
Dachshund, yeah. But to the point of like, can mutts be cadaver dogs? Yes. Is every German Shepherd going to be a scent detection dog? No. Like you also just have to find the right personalities as much as the breeds having the maybe genetic side of it. Sometimes you'll have that breed that has no interest in scent work of any kind. So you can work with mutts to be scent detection dogs. success depends more on the high hunt drive that they have, the strong nerves, the confidence, and focus, rather than their purebred papers or whatever it is. But they do say that mixed breeds that specifically have working or herding or hunting backgrounds, like any, like we talked about, like the hounds, collies, all of that, they often will excel in this sort of area. Mutts are often highly intelligent and easily trained if they are food or toy motivated. So that's another thing. If they have that one really high value thing that just gets them the most excited. And then while some breeds have better noses than others, many mixes possess also exceptional olfactory abilities necessary for detecting human scent. So don't rule out you have to get a purebred if you're interested in doing this, or interested in hiring someone, God forbid. It's it doesn't matter the breed, it's more of the training, and yeah, you find the right fit for it. So
I know that you mentioned that you were interested in doing this. Do you think that either of your dogs would be up for the task?
I mean, they're too old now.
Yeah.
I would have had to start them pretty young, I think. Even I think like if I would have done it with Ellie from the beginning, then because she, like I said, she loves stopping and smelling everything. She could have, maybe, who knows? But I also got her in college when
Yeah.
didn't know what the hell I was doing. Still don't, but that's besides the point. And I just think it's as much as you can do it as early as possible, like the greater chance of success. I've even saw people, like, if they do get a purebred and they're not fully even weaned from mom yet, they'll still bring over those scents, like those chemicals, to get that going that young, like not even weaned from mom. So
I just keep finding the dark humor in this, because I'm thinking of somebody going over to some fancy breeder's house and being like, here, I brought this vial full of blood. Can you let my puppy smell this,
my
please?
future puppy? Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. How do you bridge that topic? Yeah, I don't know.
No, it's fine. I'm just being silly.
So anyway, really, that's just kind of what I wanted to get into, is like the history of it, the types, the science of all of that. I guess like some key takeaways really is that it's not just smelling death, and that's it. It's so much chemistry involved in it, and so much that our brains can't process, but theirs can. And yeah, I think just, again, we have these animals that have this innate ability to do this, right? And so we all know that having a bond with a dog is one thing. Like, having that bond is great, and having all that. Having a bond with a dog that can then also, you could work together, just another level, I think, too, and can help other people and solve mysteries, bring some closure, deliver some justice, even just help with a clue or two. Yeah, the body was here, and that's something to go off of, Maybe they don't find the actual body, but they're able to still incorporate huge steps forward in cases, or in, any sort of unfortunate situation, I guess. So I just find it incredible, and it's on the surface very morbid and dark and everything like that, but then I think that the positive is often overlooked, too. I don't know, or often maybe misjudged or something like that. I don't know.
I think it's interesting, and I would be curious to look at the numbers of how many cadaver dogs there are out there right now, or if there's certain areas where they're more prevalent than others. I do think that we should definitely utilize, I don't want to use, you know what I mean? I don't want to abuse the dogs for their powers, their superpowers. But I think it's really cool, like you were saying, when you can basically build a bond with a dog through that. And because a lot of dogs want a job, they want to be doing something, and keeps their mind active, like you were saying. So yeah, I do think that it's really cool, and that we should be utilizing them more in that regard. And before I say what I was going to say, did you just look up something?
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's estimated that there are over 500 volunteer-led canine search teams in the U.S. using cadaver dogs. Sometimes they have multiple cadaver dogs, though, like that some of the stories I was reading. And I did want to mention, too, that in investigations, they've estimated about a 95% accuracy rate as well to the searches that they do. So that's
very cool.
Crazy. Yeah. But yeah, anyway.
Just what I was going to say was that I did remember what it was that I wanted to talk about. Like that was on my list of topics in regards to working dogs. And it was actually very similar to this. And I think you mentioned already, which was medical dogs that can sniff out medical stuff like diagnosis for people. Yeah. I think that's so cool. And I had seen a TikTok where this woman, her dog basically put his nose against her ribs and it hurt really bad. And then she was like, oh, that's like weird. Why did that hurt so bad? And so then she was feeling and then she felt a bump. And so she went to the doctor right away to get diagnosed and she ended up having cancer. I forget which kind of cancer. But the kicker is the reason why she took it so seriously is because her dog had already diagnosed her husband with colon cancer previously.
Oh my
and it's
God.
like, you need to just keep that dog at the hospital.
Yeah.
Like this dog is just going to go into every room and sniff people,
you know? Absolutely. Oh my God, that's insane.
Yeah.
That's
and
really
so
cool.
Seeing that just kind of like triggered that topic idea for me.
Definitely.
Because I just think that that's so interesting and cool.
Yeah. Or like I've seen they can detect when their human's about to have a seizure and they let them know, and then the human like goes on the ground and then they lay down, like the dog lays on top of them to put pressure on them so they don't move as much. It's just like, God, we don't deserve dogs. Like,
we deserve them.
We don't deserve them, but I'm very grateful for all that they do. And even if it's not to that level of like help, I think that they help in a lot of other everyday ways too. Anybody that's owned a dog knows that they don't have to be trained like that, but it's crazy that they can be and that they are just out there and they and like you said, they love, it's stuff that they like to do. It's rewarding for them. So that's all I had about cadaver dogs.
Very cool. I enjoyed it. To our listeners, we've been doing the every other week. There's been a lot going on, but hopefully we'll get back to every week again at some point. But that being said, I think what would definitely give us a little hit of dopamine to keep going is if y'all keep commenting, subscribing, sharing with anyone you know that's just like interested in everything, just learning. And feeling like you're hanging out with two friends at a sleepover or something. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and we're on YouTube too. So like if you prefer listening and watching, go there. But otherwise on every podcast app out there as well. So yeah, just let us know. We're also open to feedback. I mean, send us a DM or something like that. We're on, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all of that. As we continue to, I don't know, we just got to keep going. It's we both enjoy it, and I just think we're open to what other people are interested in too. So
yeah, at first we were like, oh, maybe we should put it on pause for a while, and then we were like, don't want to stop.
Yeah.
So.
And you can only get better by continuing to practice, right? Or like continuing to do the work. So we'll let you know once we get to the point of being back to 1 week. But for now, every other week. But let us know what you think.
Well, Erin, that was fun. And that's it for this week's rabbit hole. Next week. Oh, I'm not going to change my clue. What was it? Animals and death.
And death, yeah.
So there you go.
Okay, all right.
It's just really funny how our brains keep going to similar-ish things.
Yes.
Really close together. It's like, what the hell? But I'm not going to change it because, I'll explain why. But
and we do not plan this stuff ahead. Like Danny did not. Like we 100%. The other person does not know what's going to be for that day. So it's just weird that it works out. It's been working out the way that it has. So it's fun though.
Yeah. I enjoyed today's topic. I like that, it was kind of, it has to do with two things that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, which is animals and the dark stuff.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah. Okay. Anyways, tell us what you're hyperfixated on. Drop it in the comments, DMs, or email, and maybe your obsession will make it into a future episode. But until then, embrace the spiral, stay curious, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
It's hyperfixation time.